oh, Dustin wouldn't have beaten him if Conor was in his prime. That's like having sex with a girl, busting 30 seconds in and saying, oh, but back in the day, I could go for hours. And that's really what you should be judging me on. You could put Nate Diaz with a group of Buddhist monks for 10 years, and mentally, he'd still be in Stockton, California. And that's how he's going to fight. You know, the CTE and the copious amounts of weed smoking notwithstanding. All right, kids, it's the first UFC video of the fiscal year 2021. So I'm switching up the format a little bit, and I mainly want to talk about Poirier versus McGregor and the future of the lightweight division. But before I get to that, just a few stray observations and honorable mentions from earlier in the evening and the week. Joanne Calderwood's coach, who's also her fiance, John Wood, the way that he was talking to her cage side was like, is the way I want a man to talk to me, you know, when we're screwing, basically. Like, be firm and discipline me, but also be encouraging and supportive. Even the way she talks with that high-pitched Scottish accent is like a turn on. Like, I would definitely pay to see their homemade videos. You know, I have like an eye for that kind of talent. And both of their surnames have wood in it. So there's definitely like a creative sexual innuendo of a title for either their OnlyFans page or their Pornhub channel. Just saying. Also, I don't really know what's going on at Yas Island because it looks really nice, but every time a fighter or a commentator leaves there, they're basically like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption, walking out of prison. I'm assuming it's the quarantine protocols that make it less fun. But every time they film a video of themselves leaving Yas Island, you'd think they were being freed from somebody's basement, you know, after being held in captivity for 10 years. The videos will be like, you know, we hear race cars, we hear a racetrack. Is that a clue? Like they're trying to get like an FBI agent to find them. If we walk more than 10 feet out our door, they beat us. We can only go to the gym. Pretty soon Dana's going to have to start ghostwriting the Yelp reviews. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to go to Yas Island, fighter or non-fighter. Michael Chandler, who, by the way, was my pick. I'm very excited to announce that. Michael Chandler had a wild debut. And, of course, now there's all this hoopla about him, you know, skipping the line for the title fight. I think it's okay to cut the line a little bit, but to potentially get a title shot as your second fight in the UFC is pretty obscene. I don't care if you're coming from Bellator or, you know, Mount Olympus. You can skip a little, but to hop over the second half of the division just because you knocked out the number 6 guy, that's like doing anal on the second date. Like there are levels that you have to pass and unlock before, you know, you achieve that. You just can't hop right to that. That's like doing anal on the second date. Like there has to be levels and things you unlock before you get to that. And call me crazy, but I don't think the lightweight division is the kind of girl who should be taking it up the ass that early in the relationship. Could I have come up with a less vulgar metaphor? Probably yes. Did I want to? Absolutely not. So I had to get up at the ungodly hour of 7 a.m. To watch the press conference, you know, through one bloodshot eye. I was a little annoyed because it didn't really feel like a press conference. It felt more like an opportunity for the media to verbally fillet Conor McGregor. That means to figuratively suck off for those of us who have, you know, a limited vocabulary. And I get it. You know, he's a colossal name in the sport. He's got a huge fan base. But when you have a guy who's supposed to be a journalist, you know, reading inspirational quotes to McGregor during the middle of the presser, it's, you know, it's a little bit overkill. This guy's up there like orating passages from Conor's memoir, and the rest of us are just like, you know, what are we doing here? What is this exactly? And then, you know, you have some people who were really mad that Conor was so tame. I mean, he's a dad now. Like, what do you expect? When you were 20 years old, most of you were, you know, doing coke in a frat house and banging unsuspecting co-eds. But then you get older, you have kids, and Saturdays ain't for the boys anymore. You know, they're for t-ball games and home improvement projects. And if you're lucky, you and your wife will have 8.5 minutes of sideways sex at some point before Monday morning. And that's life. That's what happens to most of us. Hopefully not me. But I was rooting for Dustin, or Dusty, as I like to affectionately refer to him. I first became a fan of Dustin when I saw him in the documentary Fightville, where he spoke about his favorite Walmart snacks for a total of 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Just a simple man with simple tastes. That's what I like. I mean, just look at the shirt he was rocking at the post-fight press conference. That was something that I would have bought on the Jersey Shore boardwalk when I was 14. Like, he's just, walking around in Ed Hardy knockoffs, enjoying life, selling his hot sauce, running his charity, fighting and being a family man. That's it. That's his whole thing. And that's what I love about him. And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Conor. I actually have newfound respect for him after seeing how he handled himself both before and after the fight. But Conor's fans, on the other hand, are just, some of you are not of sound mind and body. Like, he could walk in and take a shit in the middle of the octagon and half of you would call it art. Heading into it, it was like if I heard the term motivated McGregor one more time, I was going to put a gun to my head. But what's crazy is the same goons who kept saying, how ready Conor was and practically pleasuring themselves to his training videos are the same people who are now saying he wasn't ready. He didn't want it enough. The humidity at Yaz Island was not, it's like, pick a struggle. Which is it? If you say that Conor only lost because he's not the same fighter he was a few years ago, then you're also basically saying that his best years are behind him and he peaked early. Dustin and Conor are the same age. Dustin's been in the UFC a few years longer and he's had 6 more fights. So if anybody should be worn down and have peaked, it's Dustin. And like I said before, some people do mellow out as they age. There are people like Conor, and then there are people like Dustin, or people like me. I'll be 85 years old, drinking whiskey and telling dick jokes while my boobs drag across the stage. So everybody's different. They say, oh, Dustin wouldn't have beaten him if Conor was in his prime. That's like having sex with a girl, busting 30 seconds in and saying, oh, but back in the day, I could go for hours. And that's really what you should be judging me on. That's not how society works. That's not how we judge these things. Oh, Conor isn't as hungry as he once was. Maybe. I mean, the guy's out there living on a yacht. He's walking around wearing a Rolex that's worth more than my life. And then you have Dustin, who's living in Coconut Creek, Florida. Broward County, Florida. Do you know how many episodes of Cops or The First 48 took place in Broward County? Do you know how many guests on the Jerry Springer show came from Broward County? Dustin could live anywhere, but he chose to live in Florida. He chose to live amongst the meth heads. And that way he's always fucking ready, because you never know when one of them is going to strike. That's how he lives his life. That's how he fights. I'm not trying to knock Conor or his whole career. I just don't like that we can't give Dustin, the accolade. That we can't give credit where credit is due. Dustin's a great fighter. He's continued to prove that over the last 10 years. That, and he's the hot sauce king of North America. So put some respect on his name, for God's sakes. Now everyone wants to know, who is McGregor going to fight next? Some people are saying Diaz, but I don't know. I feel like with that, we could have the same result as this time. Because if Dustin stayed hungry, Diaz has stayed starving. You could put Nate Diaz with a group of Buddhist monks for 10 years, and mentally, he'd still be in Stockton, California. And that's how he's going to fight. The CTE and the copious amounts of weed smoking notwithstanding. I know Conor and his coach both said that Conor's interested in rematching with Dustin, but I also don't really think that's a great idea. I personally would like to see him fight Oliveira next, but money-wise and promotion-wise, it probably makes the most sense to have him do the trilogy fight with Nate. Actually, I think Kendra Lust had said that on someone else's post. So look at that. 2 hoes, 1 opinion. Just kidding. Also, anyone who suggests Conor fight Jake Paul should just give up their rights to procreate. Because seriously, the planet needs less stupid people. We're also waiting to see if, Khabib is actually going to be or stay retired. In my opinion, the only person who could reasonably fight Khabib at this point is, Dr. Manhattan. So someone should call up his management team and see what he's doing. And we're still waiting to see what they're going to do with Michael Chandler. You know, the new rankings came out today. Michael Chandler's number 4 in the division. I personally would like to see him fight Gaethje. I think he needs one more win against a top 5 guy, before he goes and fights for the belt. So he could fight Gaethje. I mean, he could even fight Oliveira. That's another fight I would like to see. And then maybe the winner of that fight then fights Dustin for the belt. Again, assuming that Khabib is in fact retired. There's just so many moving parts. It's like herding cats. I did see a few people on social media suggesting that McGregor and Chandler fight for the belt. I'm assuming that those people are living on some type of alternative timeline than the rest of us. If Dana ever did that, which I don't think he would, but if he did, I swear to God I would storm Yaz Island. Like, collectively, we should all agree to riot at the Apex if that ever happened. But alas, that is it for me, you guys. If the spirit moves you, please feel free to comment or DM me what you think the potential matchups are going to be. The twins and I love you. We send you our best, and we ask that you please, please, please stay away from Broward County, Florida.
Whoa!